Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Oladantes. I've got the incredible, awesome Monick Halm with us today. Hey, Monick, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, my absolute pleasure, definitely. So let's jump right into it, Monick. I've obviously heard your story before on many podcasts, but I want you to kind of tell our dual listeners, how did you get started in the real estate investing game?
Yeah, so I got started just completely by accident, not at all thinking that real estate would be an avenue for me. I I'm a first generation American. My parents are from Haiti, and I was always taught, you go to school, then you go to graduate school, then you become a doctor, lawyer, professor, engineer. Like that was it, right? And so of those choices, I chose law, and I became a lawyer. I was miserable as a lawyer, but that's a whole other story. And the only thing I'd ever been taught about real estate investing was to buy your own home. So I went to buy a house, and this was in Los Angeles, 2005, towards the top of the last bubble. And even then, and even making six figures as an attorney, I couldn't afford a house by myself. The average price was 600, 700 plus $1,000 in a modest house in a modest neighborhood. Not just not even fancy. I was just trying to not be in a neighborhood with drive-bys. So I couldn't afford anything. And a friend of mine who was in a similar boat suggested that we buy a duplex together. So he'd live on one side and I'd live on the other side. And I thought, okay, well, I can afford half a house, so let's do that. And 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 instead of finding a place with two equal sides, we ended up finding this old craftsman house that we both fell in love with. And the downstairs was this bigger unit. The upstairs had been converted into a 2-bedroom apartment. There was a converted garage in the back that was a unit. And we both wanted to live in the larger unit, so we each took a room in the larger unit, and then ended up renting out the upstairs, renting out the back house. We even rented out our basement, and we were house hacking before I knew that was a thing. I was like, this is awesome. Like our tenants are paying our mortgage and expenses. Amazing. And then when I met my husband, he had a duplex, and we got a single family rental. We had some challenges around the crash in 2008 and 9, but we sold one property, and then we started flipping when houses were on sale. And then when they stopped being quite so on sale, at one point I discovered syndication and bringing groups of investors together to purchase larger properties. We got into multifamily and other like larger commercial properties, and that's where we are today.
Wow, thank you so much. There is so many things to touch on, right? So many things. I mean, talk about like a great evolution, right? You wanted to just buy a house, and then you bought this house, and you basically turned the duplex into a fourplex, right? Um,
Yeah.
so that's great. And then you started flipping. Definitely want to touch on that, and then multifamily syndication, which is totally unique structure, right, from kind of starting from house hacking, right? um
Yeah, I was so happy when I learned about this. So I ended up meeting Robert Helms, who's the host of the Real Estate Guys radio podcast. Has done, I guess, probably at this point, over $1 billion worth of transaction. I think at that time it was hundreds of millions. And we had a mutual friend, and our mutual friend Kyle Wilson said, you should meet my friend Robert Helms. He's going to come to LA tomorrow. So I met him, and I was telling him that, like, we're really frustrated with the flipping because it was just getting so competitive. And then we were looking for a fourplex by ourselves. And he said, you could get that fourplex by yourself, but you're limited to your own capital and credit. He said, alternatively, you could bring a group of investors together and you could buy a 100 or 200 unit building. And he started telling me about the benefits of that. That totally blew my mind when he told me that. It's like, I did not know real people could do this. I thought this was something that, only billionaires could do, right? And so that was really life changing when he told me that, and I said I want to learn how to do that. And that's
Yeah, I mean, you actually took that out of my mouth, right? Kind of similar thing with you. My wife and I as well. You had a house hack, then we did flipping, and then we're like, no way, let's just go back to multi-family syndication. And I learned about temperament. Flipping these houses. So I definitely want to
yeah,
go back to that. If there's somebody listening and thinking, well, I don't really have much money to start. Maybe
hmm
I can, I don't know, wholesale. Maybe I can flip some houses. It looks good on HGTV and they make a ton of
yeah.
money.
That's what got me into an HGTV. I was
you
like,
know?
if they can do it, I can do
Yeah.
it.
So,
Yeah.
and that person maybe has a day job, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person in terms of like, what were kind of your takeaways and your thoughts on flipping a home, and what were your frustrations, right? And what could you share in terms of if somebody were to go into it?
Yeah. So the good thing about flipping is, and this is, and we didn't actually realize at the beginning. There were so many things that I didn't know, and I wish I'd known then. But over time I learned. So at first I thought we had to do it just with our own money, and I didn't realize it was hard for us to get a conventional loan because we were both self-employed, and when you're self-employed, you can get your taxes looking like there are a lot of deductions. It looks like you're not making much money. So it's very hard to get a conventional loan. We couldn't even refinance our own house. And so we're like, okay, we're going to have to just buy things all cash, which is what we were doing because we had sold a property. So we had some money. And then we found out about hard money lenders, and I was like, oh, you mean we didn't have to like put all of it and it was a lot of cash in LA to put in. So we were putting in 300,000-400,000 all cash to get these properties. And then when we learned about hard money lending, we were able to really leverage and grow. So for people who are just starting and they want to flip, it's really important to understand all of the different pathways for getting financing. And if you can find a deal that makes sense, then the money is there to help you to do that. You just have to really get educated as to what will make sense, and what are the margins, and what are the things that are important to fix and will pay for themselves, and what are the things that you don't want, because it's not, you're not making the house you're going to live in. I think that was a really important thing that we learned, because you may want like the nicest appliances, and and super beautiful everything, and that may pay off for itself, but you really need to know like what people are going to pay for, and kind of like almost what the minimum you need to put in to get your money back. And don't think like this is your house that you're going to make amazing, but you're really creating a house that most people will want, and that'll pay for itself. So understanding that, but understanding that you can get financing, and you don't need to have a lot of your own money, but you do need to be educated enough to find something, and then have people want to work with you, and will give you the funds to get a good deal done. And you also need a really good team, because um, I am not a big fan of trying to DIY everything unless you are already a contractor. Like if your job is being a contractor, then yeah, like go ahead, do it. Otherwise, it works way better when you have people who know what they're doing, um, but who understand investing, so they will work fast and be affordable. So once you can figure all that out and you can make the numbers make sense, then flipping can be a great way to get chunks of money out of a property. The downside to flipping is that it's basically a short-term job. Right? It's like you find the property, you fix it up, you hopefully you sell it at a profit, but then you have to start over again. Um, and we wanted something that was more passive, more it's because flipping is an active strategy. you're taxed like it's active income. It is active income. You're working, even if you have team contractors, everything doing the work for you, it's still quite a bit of work. So that's the downside, and that's why we're not flipping anymore. You know, exactly, though, to in a larger sense, we're taking apartment buildings and we're flipping them, but over the course of several years. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah. Honestly, I just felt like I can just hear myself in everything that you've said, and it's really fascinating. And you kind of got me thinking as well as you were talking. So let's kind of, rewind back a little bit. Maybe let's say when you were house hacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we don't know what we don't know. That's like one of my favorite quotes. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So
I did not know so much.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, and even now, right? We're
yeah,
still constantly learning every
yeah,
single
yeah,
day, right? But like, let's say of everything now, which is like, you've gone through the flips, you've bought the apartment buildings, you've worked with a ton of investors, all of that. Imagine you knew that when you were house hacking. Would you have gone straight into syndication, or do you think that path,
yeah.
almost that squiggle path of flipping and the heartache and all the kind of nuances that came with that, would you still want to go through that, or would you just go straight to syndication and raising funds? I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, if I so I am grateful for the journey that I've had, because everything has taught me lessons, and um I don't have any regrets on any of it. Um, and now I teach women how to invest in real estate, and I would not be able to teach much if I hadn't learned all that through my journey, right? That being said, if I would not have flipped. I would not have done the flipping. I don't know if I would have done the house hacking, but I definitely wouldn't have done the flipping. I would have gone right to probably passively investing in syndications, and then getting on the active side. But I think about that money we had, if I had just put it, this was like right 2010, 2010, I think. And so we had 600,000, and if I had put 600,000 passively away, passively into deals at that time, making know a 15+% return, I would be better off now than if I than with all the flipping and all the the all the costs. So yeah, I would not do that
Yeah,
again.
that's kind of good to know
And that's just
because
on the passive side, not even on the active side. Then I'd be way further ahead. But
yeah, because of course we might have people that might be in that particular block in their life where they're kind of like maybe about to start, or maybe they bought a
yeah,
duplex or whatever,
yeah,
and they're like, well, maybe I can, contract this shiny object syndrome disease, which is what I caught as well. I was like, oh, I can go flip some houses, make like 50 or 100,000. It's gonna be like HGTV, and the city would never shut me down, or
yeah.
yeah. So
Well, it was fun to make houses pretty. I think I enjoyed it, and like I said, I don't have any regrets, but definitely
yeah.
I would be better off financially if I had known about going bigger faster, and also knowing that going bigger is actually is often easier
Hmm.
than going smaller, or at least it's the same. It's as difficult.
Right.
In certain cases, it's easier. In other cases, it's just the same. So you might as well have better rewards.
Right.
The
Right.
same amount of work, right?
Okay.
Uh,
So you guys are at a really good place now with your business. You're doing pretty well. You're helping others. I definitely want us to touch on that. Your teaching and stuff. So what's kind of like next for you guys? I mean, what do you guys have your eyes on? What are you thinking of doing next?
yeah. So I have a big, hairy, audacious goal to help 1 million women create financial freedom through real estate investing. And which don't ask me exactly how I'm going to do that. I'm still figuring out the how,
I
but
love it.
I'm moving towards that. But one of the things that I'm creating right now is we're doing a fund geared towards women, though men can invest if they want to. That is investing in majority women run real estate projects, and it's called the Goddess Fund. It's a Reg A Plus fund. Women will be able to invest for as little as 1,000 with pretty good returns. So I'm trying to create something that's more democratic, because a lot of these syndications, right, the minimums are 50,000. It's like most people can't afford that, and I want to provide a way for women to get in the game at reasonable price points, and then just be able to start building their wealth that way.
Oh wow, yeah, that is an amazing goal. I love that. I feel like I'm a bit of a feminist myself. I've got like two women in the house, my baby girl, my wife, and yeah, I love that. I really love the idea, for sure. So, teaching. I mean, that's interesting. What is that about? I mean, why are you doing this? You might be like making money. Why are you trying to help other people? What's that about?
That's what life's about. I mean, why? That's for me. Like, you know, I got to a place where I'm because I'm financially free, so I don't have to do this. I don't have to do the teaching, but this came as like a divine download. This is this purpose, this mission that's driving me, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I get so happy when I can help a woman get a property and she's cash flowing, and it's just like, I want to do another one, right? Like, keep doing it. And or getting into a passive deal and they're getting those checks and they're like, this is awesome, right? Like that's what I live for. And it feels really good. So it's selfishly, it feels good to me, and that's why I do it.
I love it. Yeah, thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that. I think just before we wrap up here, I want to ask just one question. Maybe let's think of a case study of any deal that you can think of that you really liked. Either you helped someone so much, or you made the most money, or it's just like a really a good deal that you just could remember. So, like, how did you
Oh,
find it? How did you fund it? It could be one of the flips too, actually.
um, let me think. What's a fun deal? Yeah, so we've had a bunch of different ones. I like one of the more unusual ones we did is an RV park in Louisiana. It's workforce housing, so it's mostly for construction workers that are working on these huge, huge mega plants, and they're construction workers were very, very highly paid, skilled workers. Like average income is like 90, 100,000. But a lot of them want to, instead of using their per diems for expensive apartments, they buy these hooked up RVs and they, they use them in the park. So we have an RV park development that that was like, it was a super interesting structure. The front end was we're paying our investors a 6% interest, and now that we're running, they're getting a lot of cash flow. So it's a really cool, it's a cool deal, and so that's been fun. But the one that I guess another one that I is really close to my heart is one we're doing. A series of single family homes, actually portfolios of single family homes in Jackson, Mississippi. So we created a fund for accredited investors, and they funded it, and it's a debt fund. We're paying them a fixed return, and we're buying these houses, and we're fixing them up, and we're putting in tenants, and most of our tenants are veterans. So we're putting in these homeless vets, and working with nonprofits and VA, and we're getting vets into these homes, into these nice they're nice homes. We're getting them off the street. There's like guaranteed rent because the government is paying the rent, and then we are then reselling these houses as turnkey houses to our list of investors, mostly women, but it's open, and they're giving these really good returns, like the double digit returns on these turnkey houses. So I love this project because investors on the front end are getting nice returns. So we're helping vets and families, and then we're helping investors and their families on the other end with these great turnkey houses.
Wow, talk about win, 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 right? I
Yeah,
love that.
I love it.
Yeah, I never heard of that deal. Never heard of something like that before. That is amazing. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
doing that. Yeah, definitely.
so
Yeah, I
it's
love
cool.
that. Yeah, so we're definitely jumping into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions. Quick answer. You ready, ma?
Yeah.
All right. First question. What makes Monick unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
What makes me unique? I think what makes me unique is I have a interesting combination of very practical and grounded and very woo woo. So I'm a lawyer and I can, work with the numbers and, I can like hang out with a spreadsheet and all that stuff. But on the other hand, I'm a Reiki master and a yoga teacher, and I'm like, am super intuitive, and I speak to angels, things like that. So I'm like a very interesting combination of left brain, right brain, and grounded and woo woo.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I, I've never thought of it that way. I like that kind of like a fusion of the left and right because you either one is kind of like dominant, so you kind of like meshing the two up. Yeah,
yeah,
that's interesting. That's
yeah.
interesting. Okay. Second question. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
All right. I was telling you before we started that I tend to read a ton of books at the same time, but I'll just talk about one. So I'm reading, I think it's by Mark Manson. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. um, F CK. And the thing that I got from it so far, this was a really interesting takeaway, is that it's not that what will make you successful, or really what you need to think about is like how much pain are you willing to take? Are you willing to it's not always going to be easy, right? So everyone has this imagination of where they're going to end up in that beautiful end point, but how much are you willing to do on the journey that's not easy to be successful? Because ultimately that's what it's going to take. And if you want a great physique, it's you have to show up to the gym, you have to lift the weights, you have to push yourself, you have to have those pains in your muscles, right? And anything you do, there's a certain amount of that challenge and pain you've got to be able to live up to. And so it's important for people when they're planning, they're not just thinking about how beautiful it's going to be at the end, but how the challenges that they're going to be facing in between, and being happy and willing to do those.
Yeah, it's a fantastic read. I read that book pretty quickly, and I loved how Mark talked about how it would fantasize about being a rock star, right?
Yeah.
And then you realized, hey, I don't actually like moving gear and musical instruments. And I think the only thing I like about being a rock star is actually fantasizing
Yeah,
and dreaming about being a rock star, right? And
you
that
gotta
is so
practice. You gotta do all that. You're not it's not
yeah,
all it's the fans and the money, right?
exactly right. And it's fascinating. I love that disappointment panda. I wish we had that in real life. Somebody that just comes and knocks on the door and say, do you really want to be a real estate investor? Are you sure you really want to keep a house or whatever? Are you sure, or you just like the idea, right? So
Yeah,
it's
everyone likes
interesting.
passive income. Who doesn't want that? But there's kind of
Exactly.
you have to take
Exactly.
some risks. You have to, um, you know,
Yep.
put in the. You got to get educated. You got to put in the work.
You got to put in, and there's a price to pay, and I always say there's no discount. Yeah. So, yeah. Last question. Yeah. You've got a lot going on. You got property, you got your family. What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I love to travel. So, yeah, my traveling is, and then when I'm here, I do yoga and hang out with my family. But traveling is my big love. And actually, next year, 2020, my husband, daughter, and I, we are becoming nomadic. We're renting out our house for the year, and we are going around the world. we're gonna spend like
Wow. That
months
is going
here,
to
2 months there. We're starting in Australia. I don't know where else we're gonna go, but we're gonna be, yeah, like
That's
gypsies
awesome. Yeah, that's
for the
awesome.
next year.
I love that. I love that. So can you tell us a little bit more about your podcast, and then, kind of if there's a dual listener saying, wow, I like Monick. I want to get to know her. Maybe they're in California or on the LA area. We have a ton of listenership in California. Just kind of tell us the best way people can reach out to you and tell us a little bit more about your podcast.
Sure. So my podcast is Real Estate Investor Goddesses, and on that podcast, I interview badass female real estate investors who share their stories, their biggest mistakes, their best advice, and they're just awesome and open and real and vulnerable. So that's our podcast, and you can find it on iTunes and the Google Store, and I guess other places podcasts are found. And then to find me, the best place is to go to my website at www.reigoddesses.com. And yeah, we have people part of our community. You can join, ladies, our community and our investor club, and there's a bunch of other awesome content available there for you. So
Monick,
reigoddesses.com.
yeah, thank you so, so much. It's my absolute pleasure to talk to you today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.